Heather Booth we're going to get to a totally different topic, and much more serious here, now that we've had our fun. Heather Booth is Executive Director of Americans for Financial Reform, and this is a topic we've been talking about often on the show, and whether the Obama administration is pushing hard enough and far enough in doing financial reform. Heather, welcome to the Young Turks.
I couldn't hear the last sentence you said, Cenk, but I'm very glad to be on today. Today is the 10th anniversary of the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, which led us in part down this very dangerous road that allowed investment banks, which have risky activities, to be more tied and not segregated from traditional commercial banking. And it helped to lead to the kind of economic meltdown that we saw a year ago.
Heather, that's absolutely true, and we covered that a little earlier, and there were some senators who were right, like Senator Dorgan on that, who warned about that. And I want to get back to that in a second, but first, I'm very curious about Americans for Financial Reform. You guys are, from what I understand, an umbrella group. Can you tell us who's in the group and why you guys are pushing for financial reform?
Yes, it's a remarkable effort. We came together in June and represent over 200 organizations, from consumers and advocates, grassroots and experts, civil rights organizations, labor organizations, groups with pension investments. And we came together not only following the bailout when there really was no voice from Main Street, but particularly there was a bill to renegotiate mortgages that would have forced the renegotiation of mortgages in the bankruptcy bill. And when that provision went down to force renegotiation of mortgages so that we could do something about this foreclosure crisis, when it went down, Senator Durbin from Illinois said the reason it went down is because the banks, frankly, owned the place, talking about Capitol Hill. And we were formed so that there'd be a voice from Main Street and not just Wall Street when we're talking about our financial future.
You know, all those groups that you mentioned there, I'm curious why they thought that this was such an important issue. Because I get the banks' motivations. They want to make more money. They don't want to be regulated so they can take higher risk, take home higher bonuses, etc. What's the motivation of the other side? Why spend the money? Because this has got to cost money to put together this group to fight back.
Well, the group came together with an extraordinary amount of volunteer effort. They weren't in it for the money, but partly because they saw the loss of all the funds they had. They were homeowners facing foreclosure. We now expect there'll be 10 million foreclosures in the next year and a half. There were people who were concerned about their pension funds, the 401ks becoming 201ks, or even less. It's affecting everyone. It's affecting small businesses who can't get loans. It's affecting small banks. Over 100 have gone out of existence. And so a whole variety of people got together and said, it's about time that regular people in this country have a voice.
We're talking to Heather Booth. She's the Executive Director of Americans for Financial Reform. Heather, so let's come back to that quote of Dick Durbin's, the banks own the place. In your estimate, now that you've been in this fight for a little while, how true is that? I mean, what I know this is very, very rough, but what percentage of the senators are thoroughly bought by the financial industry, and what percentage aren't?
You know, what I can tell you is that this is just an extraordinary fight. It's sort of we call it a David and Goliath fight with the enormous power and wealth of the financial industry. The Chamber of Commerce, you probably know, has launched a $100 million campaign to defend the so-called free enterprise system. They had a $2 million campaign with advertising to try and defeat a consumer financial protection bill that's now making its way through Congress so that we could get the kind of financial protection that you get in consumer protection where, you know, you may have heard the quote, if you had a toaster that exploded, you'd take it off the market so it couldn't burn down your home. But if you have a mortgage that explodes and in effect can destroy your home, that's still on the market, but a consumer financial protection agency could protect us against that. But the Chamber of Commerce has an ad campaign to try and confuse people and say that this isn't what we need. And further to your question about the influence on Capitol Hill, there are 7 financial associations that spent $147 million combined in lobbying and political contributions over the last 2 years. And that's just what we know has been reported. So the strength on the opposition side, we know, is very powerful.
It is, and that's what makes me wonder if we've got a shot here. Because, you know, I look at the issue, and I know the motivation of the guys who are taking the money from the financial industry. I guess the motivation of the rest of them is that they want to represent the people, which is usually in politics a fairly weak motivation. So how do you overcome that? And again, do you have a sense of how winnable this is, given that we don't own our senators, the banks do?
Well, first of all, we still are a nominal democracy, and there are sources like your program and others that are bringing the news to the public as well as to these members of Congress. But also there is a historic opportunity, really the first time in about 40 years where there's been such an alliance of forces together that says that maybe we can make this historic change. For one thing, the crisis is so extreme that everyone is paying attention. Number two, the old ways, the old ideology of free market, do whatever you want, so-called laissez-faire, it no longer has the kind of credibility it once had. That instead people are calling for regulation. In fact,
but Heather, I'm sorry, in the short amount of time we have left, let's go back to Glass-Steagall, because that's a great example of what we were just talking about. Almost every economist agrees, yes, that was very helpful in avoiding these kind of catastrophes. And then once it got repealed 10 years ago today, it caused this part of the reason that we had this enormous collapse. But yet, I don't know of any legislation that's even bothering to re-repeal that and to bring it back, as it were. I guess Chris Dodd might have introduced something, but do you know if there's any realistic chance that we undo that mess?
We think we can make very substantial progress, but only if people organize, only if they call, if they write, if they demonstrate. And so we hope this program and others helps bring people out, have them contact the members of the Senate and the House, as well as provide visibility for their concerns that they want the voice of people to be heard. There is legislation making its way both through the Senate and the Senator Dodd's committee. There's also legislation making its way through the House from Barney Frank's House Financial Services Committee.
I'm sorry, we got about 15 seconds left. I want to squeeze this in. Do you like Dodd's proposals? Do you think they're strong enough?
Broadly, we think they're moving in a positive direction, and we need to even strengthen that, and we can with a popular voice.
Heather Booth, Executive Director of Americans for Financial Reform. Thanks so much for joining us on the Young Turks.
Thanks very much, Cenk.
All right, Young Turks.
Watch more clips at theyoungturks.com.